I would love to spend the rest of my time with Priya, and, to be honest, that's what I do. We go to the same classes. We study together, and our work schedules overlap. So really the only time we're apart is when we're at different jobs, or when she spends time with that asshole. He travels a lot, and every time he's in town, she's with him. In fact, he comes to town just to see her and ruin my life. After he leaves, we need time to process the feelings of guilt and anger he leaves behind. Sometimes it's her, but lately it's me. The last time he came into town and left, I was already asleep when he finished with her. She came into my room. I still don't understand why she didn't just stay in their hotel room until the morning. Anyway, she came in and climbed into my bed. I pretended to be asleep. She tried to wake me up, and I muttered, but continued to pretend. So, finally realizing that there would be no sex, she spooned in front of me. She even dared to wrap my arm around her. She sighed contentedly, like a cat after reaching out and scratching your sofa. And that's what she did to me. She scratched my fragile heart and treated me as if my feelings were as important to her as the couch you haven't finished paying for is to that damn cat. I could smell the Indian food on her breath with its spicy spices, and I could smell that cheap, floral scent of the incense he burned in his hotel rooms in her hair. She either didn't care that I could feel it, or it just didn't matter. She may have thought that I loved her so much that she could just throw it in my face and I would have no choice. She may have thought that I loved her so much that I would take her back no matter what. And the worst thing about it is that she was right. I really loved her so much and would. From the first time I saw Priya, I belonged to her. She looked exotic with an almost golden complexion. She had long, jet black hair that fell almost to her waist. Her waist is so narrow that I could wrap my arms around her and touch her with my fingertips. Her breasts are large for her petite frame, and her ass is very round. She has very long, gracefully chiseled legs, but despite all this, what I like most are her large, almost glowing, golden eyes and her mouth. Her crooked smile, expressing something while her sarcasm cuts someone to the bone, or the way she winks at me when we're in class. I love her face the most. The only thing that compares to her face is her character. Priya is my everything. She is both best friend and girlfriend. She is my biggest fan and harshest critic. I remember times when I would write songs for her that I thought were brilliant and everyone in the band would like them, and she would say, meh. I asked her what was the matter. Neither she nor I had any formal musical training, and some of the guys in the group were music majors. I always thought if they like it, it must be good. We'd try the song out at a concert or party, and her reactions were usually correct. I asked what it was about the song that she didn't like, and she answered me. "You can do better, darling," she said. "This song sounds exactly like the one you wrote for my birthday. So if you sing this song and that one in the same night, most people won't like it because they'll think they've already heard it." She always pushed me to do more and better. All of our friends had gotten to the point where they were just tired of hearing us talk about each other. My friends went so far as to refuse to even listen to my opinion about women. I remember when the Sea Swimsuit Special Edition came out last week. We guys discussed this. There was even a debate about which woman was more beautiful, Kate Upton or Cynthia Dicker. They even asked a couple of girls about it. But no one asked me, even to resolve the dispute. Finally, one of the girls brought me a magazine and asked me who I liked, and I told her that both are beautiful, but neither of them is as beautiful as Priya. She, on the other hand, sits and draws little hearts with our names on them, and sometimes gets so distracted by it and dreams about our future during class that I have to give her my notes to prepare. It's probably not enough just to be in love. We both think the other one was made for us. And then one night when she crawled into bed and snuggled up to me, it probably hurt her as much as it hurt me, thinking about the time she had just spent with him. Now all the real men there think that I should find this guy and smash him to smithereens. This is impossible and unlikely because I am not Rambo. Damn, Rambo isn't the same Rambo anymore. Stallone has had a couple of heart attacks and looks more like Liza Minnelli than Rambo these days. Sorry guys, but you think with your fists instead of your heads. This guy has a team of armed bodyguards who follow behind him everywhere. If I even farted in the same room as him, all that would be left of me was a small spot on the floor. Now the weak guys are probably making excuses for her and thinking about how evolved I am for letting her do what she needs to do for her self-esteem or something like that. Well guys, sorry again, but your underpants are probably too tight. Because, you see, I'm not that sophisticated. Cheating is just so damn wrong and Priya is mine. She loves me. She doesn't love him. What they do together is just, well, it's just necessary. Now, probably, the moderates among you think about this somewhat logically. Like me, they agree that cheating is wrong and I shouldn't have anything to do with it. But they understand that my relationship is with Priya and not with him. And now they probably think I should either give her an ultimatum or just tell her to go to hell. I have to either tell her it's him or me, but not both, or just leave her. And in fact, most of these guys are probably thinking about leaving her. They think that no matter how much I loved her, she didn't respect me, and for my own peace of mind and self-respect, I needed to get rid of her. Seriously, her involvement with another man implies that I am not enough for her. She threw it in my face. She didn't even respect me enough to cheat on me in secret. It makes it seem like I'm not important enough to her that she's trying to hide it. And then there is the future. What if I make her stop or give her a big ultimatum? How will I know she has stopped? And how do I even know that someday in the future she won't just do it again? Anyway, the only opinion that matters here is mine. This is, after all, my life and my decision, especially when you're all wrong. You see, Priya is cheating, but she cheats with me. I'm that other guy. The guy she's with now is her fiancé. In her country, it's the same as being married. She was chosen for him by their parents when she was only 4 years old. Their families are both very old families with great influence in their country. Her fiancé is in line to become the next prince of Pakistan. Priya could become the next queen and help shape the country's politics. She came to our country to continue her education. We were never destined to meet. We were never meant to fall in love. But we fell in love and everything went wrong. I remember the first day I saw her. We were both on a picnic at the beach with a large group of mutual friends. There were a few single girls there, but like I said, from the first glance I laid eyes on her, I was hers. There were also a few single guys there, and a few of the more confident guys noticed her as well. They approached her and made their moves and were rejected. I think most of them were smart enough to just leave her alone after they found out about her situation. After all, there were other unmarried girls there. I saw her from across the beach and never approached her, but I was fascinated. Everything she did only increased my attraction. Whenever I heard her voice, her thick British accent drove me crazy. When she took off her t-shirt and shorts to go into the water, I had an internal explosion and almost lost consciousness. It wasn't so much an explosion as it was a painful distraction. When she entered the water, her exclamations of delight attached me to her even more, and I still have before my eyes the image of her coming out of the water, covered in wet hair, flowing down her back and sticking to her face. For me, this is the sexiest sight of my life. After that, I became more sociable. I walked wherever she might be, just to look at her from afar. My heart broke every time some guy tried to talk to her. I was happy every time she pushed them away, and I trembled at the thought that her harsh sarcasm would someday repulse me in the same way. Over time, our eyes met several times, and it really seemed to me that there was something between us. But I never took a step that would banish me from her presence forever. I wasn't really in her presence, but I was on the outskirts, and that was much better than being rejected and rejected. Finally, as autumn turned to winter, our group of friends began to split into pairs, and the number of singles decreased greatly. Since winter also encourages more indoor activities, this presented an opportunity. There were several occasions when we went to the movies and all the couples split up. leaving us singles to stare at each other. It was an interesting time for me because I'm not a troll. Almost from the beginning, there were several women who expressed an interest in either me pursuing them or having me pursue them. And as a young, hormonal 20-something, there were times when I considered giving up. I then wondered what exactly I was saying no to. In the end, I had nothing with her. She, on the other hand, was seriously committed to another person. She was also a virgin and had never considered changing that status. So what exactly was I saying no to? Giving up Priya, or at least giving up secret surveillance of her. I refused to be frustrated. I also rejected loneliness and sadness. And best of all, I refused to be celibate because most girls our age are not only ready to have sex with their partners, but they want it. On the other hand, many girls we interacted with asked me about Priya, and even more guys noticed how I looked at her. So some of our well-meaning friends began to bring us closer together. The group began hosting more indoor events, which now included going out to restaurants, bars, and dancing. I often danced with many single girls, but I never asked Priya to dance. So it was a big surprise for me when I sat down at the table after the dance and she spoke directly to me. "Is there food stuck in my teeth?" she asked. Before I could look, she continued speaking with the same thick accent and the same sarcastic tone. She raised one hand, then the other. "Damn, I probably stink," she said. Is this the case? I'd never heard her swear before, but she was warming up and it showed. "Or maybe it's something else," she continued. "Maybe it's the hair. I don't have sexy blonde hair, so you don't talk to me. Maybe you're not as smart as everyone thinks. Maybe—" "Miss, you don't know me at all," I interjected when I had the chance. She grabbed my statement and ran with it. "Eric Peters," she said, "you're in the top 3 in every class. You're studying to be a biochemist. You're interning at Harris Chemical and don't plan to work there after graduation. You play guitar and write songs for a band that keeps changing its name. You have a good voice, but you don't like to sing. Your locker is 643 on the first floor of the chemistry building. Your academic mentor is Dr. Shepard, like me. You don't live in a dorm. You drive a 2004 Mustang GT, 40th anniversary edition with black interior and black exterior. You love it because they only made 25 of these, and you tell everyone about it. You." "Okay," I said. "I give up. You know about me, but you don't know me." "Okay," she continued, "maybe you're not a racist, but I think you must be a xenophobe. You know, a nationalist." "I know what a xenophobe is," I snapped. "I have a good vocabulary and—" "Yes, I know," she continued. "Almost no one wants to play Scrabble with you. I've seen you dance many times with Terry. She's black. You also danced with Amy and Sarah. You even awkwardly moved on the floor with Rosa, and she's Latina. But you never asked me to dance. Terry and Rose have boyfriends, and you danced with them. Amy likes you. But then again, you never asked me to dance one damn time. Why are you sure that I am? Don't I stink?" "Respect and common sense," I said. "I respect your situation and your choice. I am also sane enough to understand futility." I said. "What the hell does that mean?" she asked. "It means I've watched guys who are much better than me, guys who have much more charm and all the bullshit that girls fall for, get rejected and then crushed by you. My self-esteem will probably not hold up. Humiliation, so I stayed away." "You're quite charming yourself," she said. "How do you know you won't succeed where others have failed?" My laughter interrupted the conversation, like the perfect ending to her incredible sentence. Surprisingly, she followed me when I tried to leave. "Eric, you're perfect for me," she said. It was bad enough that she teased me. Was there really a need to humiliate me too? The woman I fell in love with from afar turned out to be some kind of exotic tormentor. It wasn't enough to alienate and humiliate every guy who tried to talk to her. Now it seemed she had expanded her ambitions, trying to go after guys who didn't even bother her, only to humiliate them too. "Please find someone else to play with," I said. I waved to a few of my friends and left the bar. Moments later, I was safely in the arms of, well, my girlfriend's seat, the only woman I ever loved before I saw Priya, my glass black 2004 Mustang GT. I started the engine and enjoyed the sound of over 300 horsepower being channeled through the aftermarket exhaust system that was custom-built for my car. As I pulled away from the curb, I saw Priya in the rear-view mirror. I wondered as I drove away if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. After all, I had nothing to lose except my dignity, and even that wasn't much. After all, Priya had already rejected every other guy who tried to talk to her. If I tried and failed, I'd be just another guy on the list. And since I have a pretty good reputation as a nice guy, that would probably say more about her than it does about me. On the other hand, she really got me excited when she said, "I'm perfect for you." Damn, my heart started beating so fast that I had to leave. I even left without saying goodbye to most of my friends. I just needed to get away so I could breathe. Most of all, I wanted the world to turn upside down. I wanted to be in a world where, instead of being clumsy, hairy, rough creatures, men were graceful and beautiful. Priya was so damn beautiful that sometimes I couldn't look at her. Her grace and beauty were visible in everything she did. Watching her walk along the beach, as I did in early fall when the weather was still warm enough to do so, was like watching a symphony. She turned a simple movement into an almost balletic performance. I was so crazy about this woman that it hurt. But the first time I actually talked to her, I learned that underneath all that grace and beauty was another sadistic woman. What a world. The funny thing about all this is that most women wonder why some guys don't want to get a woman. We just want to rent them. I spent the rest of the evening alternating between daydreaming about what could have been and cursing her memory for being who she tried to be. I decided that since we had never had anything but my dreams since I met her, the imaginary breakup was in place. I spent my last conscious moments before sleep overcame me thinking about the pros and cons of some of the other single women in our circle, and I decided to be logical and consider only those women who showed interest in me. The problem was that when you compared them to each other, they all had different degrees of attractiveness and merit. But if I ever compared them to her, they all didn't seem so good. Amy, for example, was pretty. She also had nice breasts. If you consider only the volume and do not pay attention to the proportions, her breasts were much larger than Priya's. Amy was also a nice girl, and I liked her. So, if you look at things purely logically, Amy was the girl for me. But I've never been the type of guy to look at things purely from a logical perspective. Sure, Amy had big breasts, but when you compare other factors like proportions, Priya's breasts were smaller, but her body was much smaller compared to Amy's. Proportionally, Priya's breasts were larger and her waist much narrower, and Amy has no ass at all. If you saw them together, it was like a graceful antelope next to a cow. To put it in non-zoological terms, it's like going through a twisty and technical Grand Prix circuit. If you had to do this course, which car would you rather do it in, a truck or a Ferrari? When I woke up the next day, I had already decided in my mind. The decision I made wasn't a good guy decision, but it was probably the best one possible for me. I started spending time with Amy, but I didn't mislead her. I didn't intend to turn it into a relationship, but if she wanted to spend time together, that was fine. It was also okay if she wanted to turn our non-relationship into friends with benefits, because I was for benefits. But I wasn't going to start calling us a couple. This way of looking at things, a little sex and no hassle, although with a cow, is better than no sex and humiliation from an antelope every day. Unfortunately, the decision was not made by me. I ran into Amy. I waved to her, and she came towards me, looking like she had something on her mind. She was really up to something, but it wasn't what I expected. "Eric, can you skate?" she asked. "Well," I replied, "I'm not a hockey player or a figure skater, but I think I can skate around the rink a couple of times without falling over and stretching myself all over." "Great, because we're all going ice skating in the central square tomorrow night. And maybe you can make up for last night and get your good guy status back, she said. How did I lose my good guy status? I asked. When we danced last night, everything seemed normal. Oh, damn, sorry. I left without saying a word, but I just needed to get out of there. After you made Priya cry, you should have left, she said. I was shocked by her words. Amy, how did I make her cry? I asked. We were just talking, that's all. Eric, you never asked her to dance, she said. Do you have to dance with her? I asked. Well, no, but it would be nice, she said. Eric, you just don't understand life in her country. Women there are treated poorly. They are second-class citizens. Amy, you don't understand life here. Men are treated poorly here. We are second-class citizens, I said, laughing. Okay, explain it, she chuckled. Amy, if you take a typical guy like me, life just sucks. I'm not rich. I'm not handsome. I'm an average guy. Hot women look past me to see some jerk who will end up beating them up or cheating on them or ignoring them. I will end up with a sweet little woman who will turn into my mother over the next 20 years. We will never have a strong passion. We will just be stable. We will have a couple of children, and when we are 45, one or both of us will cheat on each other. Maybe we'll get over it, or maybe we'll get divorced. If we get divorced, I'll be screwed anyway, no matter who cheated on whom. I'll be raped in court, because that's how it works. Probably at least half of men want a divorce, but as they say, it's cheaper to leave her. Eric, what does this have to do with Priya? She asked. How many guys have you seen asking her out? I asked. A lot, right? She nodded. Have you ever thought about how hard it is to be a guy? You have to be brave and approach a virtual stranger to ask if you can spend time with him. The poor guy has no power. He depends on the will of this woman. How much self-respect does he have when she rejects him? Some girls try to be nice about it. They apologize one after another, and the guy finally gets the hint and leaves. Other girls think that it's not worth beating around the bush and stalling for time, so they say no, it's more painful, but you recover quickly and move on. But your friend is the kind of woman who enjoys humiliating guys. She just crushes them with her sarcasm and destroys their ego. I think she likes it. I think you're wrong, Eric, Amy said. She has a strange sense of humor, but Priya doesn't have an evil bone in her body. Amy, yesterday was the first time I talked to her. She just came up to me and started calling me names, I said. Eric, she was upset and hurt, Amy said. We spent the whole week teaching her how to dance. There aren't many dance clubs in Pakistan, and young ladies from good families, especially at her level, just don't dance in public. And then there was you. Like you said, Eric, she had to blow off a few guys. And yes, Priya has a sharp tongue, and she is not afraid to use it. But most of these guys asked for it. Eric, she can't go on romantic dates with guys because she can go out in groups with friends. She's really beautiful. Girl, Eric, but she doesn't see it. And damn, I wish I was as thin as her. But guys don't see it that way. Most of them aren't looking for a date or friendship at all. They just want sex, and they do see dating as a way to get it. Eric, yesterday you danced with all the singles in our group, and even some attached. Huge football player Terry doesn't mind you dancing with her, whether he's here or not, because you're not an asshole and you respect boundaries. The only girl in our group who wanted to dance and who you didn't dance with was Priya, Eric. She was almost in tears. So yeah, she kind of went on the attack. But what did you expect? Amy, there are other guys in our group. Like you said, someone could and should have danced with her. It didn't have to be me, I said. Eric, it really should have been you, she hissed. Why? I asked. Most guys hate dancing, she said. They do it as a means to an end. There's no end to it with Priya, so someone has to do it just to be nice, and you're nice. The other two single guys we're dating are either desperate or scum, so that really should be you. Guys who have girlfriends better not dance with her, or their girlfriends will be jealous or angry, so they won't volunteer, so it should be you. In fact, I told her before we did, Kane, that you would probably dance with her. That's why she attacked you. So everyone just decided that I should be some kind of a sexual saint. I should save old ladies and orphans and dance with evil women without a thought for personal gain, I asked. Yes, Eric, she laughed. That's what you should do. The next day I went to the city center to the square with a group of my friends. Those of us who had cars drove them and picked up those who didn't. I rented skates and put my rusty skills to the test. After a reconnaissance lap around the skating rink, I smiled and enjoyed myself. I took a quick jump and suddenly remembered how to ride backwards. Afterwards, I skated to the beat of the music and watched as several of my friends fell and got up as they continued to skate. Amy was an amazing skater. I rode with her a couple of times. The second time, she started waving something in her hand. "We're going dancing tomorrow night if you want it back," she said. "If I want to return what?" I asked. "Your good guy card," she grinned. "Amy, why do the girls always get together and decide where we go?" I asked. "Because if we leave the decision to the guys, we'll just end up in someone's basement playing video games," she said, smiling. "So, are you returning this tomorrow or what?" "Why not?" I asked. I quickly drove to the side of the road and leaned over the railing towards the table where Priya was sitting. "Why don't you ride?" I asked. "Because I don't know how," she replied, sarcastically copying my tone. "If we started off on the wrong foot yesterday, I'm sorry," I said. "I'm a little shy and I just thought I'd be humiliated. No one wants to be hurt, especially when it's you." I hesitated. "What do you mean when it's you?" she asked. "I saw you go up to Amy earlier and go for a ride with her. You went for a ride with her more than once. But when you went up to Sarah, she told you no and—" "Did you see why Sarah told me no and how she did it?" I asked. "Sarah said no because she thinks I skate too fast for her. Look how she holds onto the railing when she skates. She smiled at me and said, 'No way, Eric, but I'll dance with you when we're done.' It was friendly. When you tell guys no, it's not like that." "Eric, usually when I tell a guy no, it's because they want something more than just friendship. If I say no nicely, they try to push, and then things get out of hand. They don't take it easy," she said. "It's probably because it hurts more when it's from you," I said. "Why?" she asked. "Because you're so beautiful," I said. She threw her head back and laughed as if I had just told the funniest joke she had ever heard. She asked. "I am beautiful?" And then she laughed again and couldn't stop. "Eric, someday I should show you some photographs," she said. "I went to an all-girls school. I bet if I showed you a picture of my school class, you would hardly be able to tell me apart from the other girls. I look just like all the other girls from my country. In fact, I'm not even as pretty as some of them." Then it was my turn to start laughing. Amy rolled up with Sarah. She looked pleased and gave me back my imaginary card. I whispered in her ear and asked what shoe size Priya was wearing. She told me, and I rolled up to the rental window and picked up skates that were the right size for Priya. I put the skates in front of her. "Oh no," she said. "How about a bet?" I suggested. "What are we betting on?" she asked. "Do you have photos in your wallet?" I asked. "Of course," she replied. "Pick 3 of them," I suggested. "If I guess 2 out of 3, you have to skate. If I don't guess, I'll take off my skates and sit down with you." She thought for a moment. "And you'll have to dance with me tomorrow," she added. "I really want this." "Okay," I said. She searched through her wallet and found 3 photographs. She found even more than 3, but she looked through them and pulled out 3 that she thought would give me less chance of recognizing her. The first one was the most difficult. It was a photograph of 3 little girls who could not have been more than 11 or 12 years old. I looked at them closely and chose the girl on the right side. "Ooh," she exclaimed. "How do you know?" She pulled out another photo. This time it was of two little girls in front of a horse. "You're on the left this time," I said. "Damn," she hissed. I looked at the last photo. "You've already won," she said. "Are you trying to humiliate me now?" There were 16 girls in 3 rows in the photo. There were 7 girls in the back row, 5 in the second row, and 4 in the front row. I pointed to the girl on the right side of the second row. She put all the photos away and bent over to put on her skates. She stood up and I grabbed her hand. She just looked at me as I took her hand. Something passed through me from this touch, and I knew that, as futile as it was, I was very glad I didn't settle on Amy. "You won't let me fall on my butt, will you?" she asked. "For what?" I asked. "You call it an ass," she said. Her mouth smiled slightly in that smile that I love so much. But this was the first time she smiled so close to me. I melted and almost fell myself. "I'll protect your ass like my own," I said. Immediately, Amy gave me an angry look. I took Priya onto the ice. "Okay, madam," I said. "We'll move very carefully. At first, you'll hold on to the railing with one hand and hold on to me with the other." It took us almost 10 minutes to get around the rink, but when we got back to her table, she was smiling. "Why are we stopping?" she asked. "Can we go again?" On the second and third laps, she was still taking small steps, but she began to let go of the railing. By the fourth lap, she walked the entire lap, holding only my hand. She was extremely joyful, and it infected everyone. Everyone seemed to have fun watching her gain confidence, and her natural grace made watching her move more interesting than watching some women who have been skating for years. But our luck could not last forever, and when it was over, Priya showed me her mental acuity. While we were riding, I told her that falling is normal and that it will happen. I told her that many people make falls worse than necessary by flailing their arms and trying to hold on. It's best to simply bend your knees and try to break your fall. When she lost her balance, that's exactly what she did. I grabbed her and we fell together, with her landing on top of me. "Oh, it doesn't hurt at all," she laughed. "Tell that to poor Sarah," said Amy. She rolled up to us. "You landed on something softer than ice," she said. "I think Sarah almost broke her ass when she fell. She may never skate again." After a few minutes, we got up again and continued riding. All too soon, they announced that the song they were playing would be the last for the evening, and that everyone who had rented skates needed to return them. "Eric," Priya said, "thank you very much. I had more fun than ever." I smiled back at her, knowing that my life was ruined. Over the next few months, we were not a couple. When I say non-couple, I mean we were friends without benefits. But wherever our group went, we were always together. If we went to the cinema, we sat together. If we went to dinner or dancing or whatever, we were always together. There were also times when the group had no plans to do anything. Then Priya and I would quickly call a few of our friends to go somewhere, just to be together. During this time, very subtle changes began to occur between us. We went to see a scary movie that was particularly gory, and Priya grabbed my hand. After the scary part, she held my hand for the rest of the movie. After that, she always insisted that we go to everything, even slightly scary films. One of the biggest changes was when we started going out dancing. I found that quite often I was doing every dance with Priya. When we started, we only danced fast dances where there was a lot of space between us. One time, when a slow song came on, Priya and I left the dance floor. As soon as we sat down, Amy pulled me back onto the dance floor and told me she wanted to dance. As I danced, I held Amy in my arms and she pressed herself against me. She pressed her large breasts against my chest and, in fact, she pressed all of them against me. "Amy, are you trying to tell me something?" I asked. "That's for you to find out," she said. When I returned to the table, Priya immediately grabbed my hand and pulled me away from the table. Her eyes lit up, and the next thing I knew, we were in the parking lot. "What the hell were you doing?" she hissed. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "Eric, don't play dumb," she screamed. What were you doing with Amy? Danced, I said. That wasn't a dance, she screamed. You looked like you were ready to have sex right there. Several people came out of the bar and smiled when they saw us. I didn't like it, she screamed. I didn't like it at all. Don't you dare do that again. Why not? Amy asked from behind us. Priya, we're all just friends. Eric went further than I asked. Over the past few weeks, or even longer, he's been more than a nice guy. Have you noticed that he used to dance with all the single girls, but now he only dances with you? Maybe Sarah and I sometimes want to dance with him too. It's much nicer than trying to dance with Claude, who only wants to corner you and try to touch your breasts. And Adam is worse. He will only dance with you if he thinks he can seduce you. Besides, aren't you engaged? She asked. I'm engaged, Priya said loudly. I didn't do anything bad or inappropriate. So what are we going to do? I asked. Do you know what it really is? Asked Priya. No, I answered. Priya, I think I feel the same way, Amy said. Maybe Eric needs to be with someone to sleep with. Is that what you're worried about? Is that what's going on? Nah, Sarah, Priya said. I saw them dancing, and it was too close for me. It was a slow song, and I didn't like it at all. I got angry and pulled him out of the bar, started screaming at him, and I told him not to do that again, just when Amy came out. I think Amy realized something that I didn't realize at the time. Eventually, when the time came, Eric was honest enough to confess. Admit to what? Sarah asked. Amy said Eric needs to be with someone to have sex. Is he pressuring you about sex? Is that what it's all about? Wow, guys, talk about it, Terry said. We'll try to explain it to her, or try. Carla and Terry led the seething Sarah out of the room. Eric, Priya began. Can we turn off the lights? I asked. For what? She asked. Because I don't think I can look at you and try to argue with you, I said. Oh, so I went from being unearthly beautiful to being so terrible you can't look at me in less than an hour, she said. You know what's wrong, I said. But if I look at you, I won't be able to tell you no, and I really need to fight for us. Eric, we're out, she said. I belong to another person. I turned off the light. Tell me goodbye, Priya, I said. Just tell me you don't want to spend time with me anymore. Tell me you hate me and wish you had never met me. I'll make it easy for you. I'll transfer somewhere else. Just tell me. We sat in the dark of the room as the seconds and then minutes slowly ticked by. Priya, I love you, but we don't have the whole night, I said. Her deep breath only increased the tension. Okay, I said. Maybe everything I told you was too much to remember. Let's simplify it to one word. Just tell me to leave, and I will leave and not bother you anymore. You only need to say one word. Just say go away. There was silence in the room again. Maybe you're one of those passive-aggressive types. You know, the whole Catholic thing. You don't want to admit that you're doing something against the Pope's orders, so I'll do it for you. You want me to leave, but you don't want to tell me. Maybe you just don't want to hurt my feelings. I'll just make it too difficult for you. So I'll just leave. Like you said, there's nothing to figure out. I'll just leave and it won't be your fault. You didn't tell me to leave, so in 20 years, you'll be able to tell yourself that you didn't make me leave. I stood up loudly and headed towards the door. Even in the darkness, her hand shot out in desperation. I could hear the fear in her voice as she grabbed my hand and screamed, "No, Eric, please don't go." I sat back down, this time next to her. I felt her hand shake as she held mine. So what are we going to do? I asked. Did you really mean what you said? She asked. No, I said. I didn't really want to leave, but I would have left to make it easier for you. Not that part, idiot, she chuckled. The part where you said you loved me. Yes, I said. Sorry. Eric, do you love me? She asked. Yes, Priya, I said. It's certain and confirmed. I've loved you for a long time. So what are we going to do? She asked. She started crying again. I leaned over and just hugged her. "Well," I said, "we're both smart people, and we realized we had a problem. So we have to relate the problem to something we know and solve it that way." "Can you turn on the light?" she asked. "Why, dear?" I asked. "So I can look at you like you're crazy," she replied. "It's not as effective when you don't see me doing it." "It's simple," I said. "If we try to quit at once, it will be hard and painful. It will leave us with nothing but thoughts of what we are losing." "It makes sense," she said. "So what are we going to do?" "We have to somehow get out of this smoothly," I said. "And then we need to find a distraction." "It must be something very big, Eric," she said. "And you can't call me darling yet. Start with darling, then darling, and if you're really good, we might get to darling." "Okay, honey," I said. "So what is this distraction?" she asked. "In 6 weeks, you'll be back in Pakmanistan for the summer, and I'll be going home to Michigan to be with my family. We'll have a lot of time in the summer to think about other things, and we'll have 3 months without each other to let it fade." "And you think that 3 months is enough to burn you out of my heart?" she asked. "No," I said. "It'll take a couple of weeks." I heard her laughing in the dark. Then the door opened. Sarah and Terry entered the room. "Hey guys, they're closing the building," Terry said. Why are the lights off?" "Because I'm so beautiful that he can't look at me," Priya said ironically. "He was probably looking at your breasts when he said that," Carla added. Over the next 6 weeks, the situation only got worse. Priya was constantly in my thoughts. We followed all the rules. We didn't have sex. We didn't even kiss, but we wanted it. I know I wanted it, and sometimes when I looked into her eyes, especially when other couples around us were kissing so casually, I was sure that she wanted it too. I did everything I could to ease our tension. What she could tell me with a handshake or a look was better than sex. There was never a doubt in my mind, even compared to friends who had an active sex life, that I was the happiest man on earth. Not everything was perfect, and there were things that suffered or became stressful. My friendship with Amy was one of those things. There were also things that were completely destroyed. Priya's friendship with Amy falls into this category. Of all the people we interacted with, only Amy really knew what was going on between us. She felt sorry for me and hated Priya. Every time I talked to her, she told me that I was making a huge mistake and that this would end tragically for me. She also told me that Priya is an absolute bastard who is using me. She told me I was a fool for allowing myself to be in a relationship where I didn't even get sex as a benefit. Time passed faster than I ever imagined. Sometimes it seemed like we were going out with a group, and as soon as we sat down at the table and looked into each other's eyes or danced a couple of dances, the evening was over. There also came a time when our friends who treated us well began to irritate us. Priya was not as tactful as me. There were times when she was just plain rude. Someone would walk up to a table and sit down, only to have Priya tell them to find another table. She also refused to let me dance with other women. If they came to the table and smiled before they could even ask, she would simply say, "No." Most of our friends understood or tried to understand. Many guys who tried to talk to Priya and were rejected joked about this topic. One drunk guy came up to us and muttered, "I can't wait to see how big her tits get when you get her pregnant." Without missing a beat, Priya looked him straight in the eyes and blurted out, "When he gets me pregnant, they will be huge and you won't see them anyway." Everyone in the room laughed, except Amy, who left, slamming the door. The saddest day of the year was the day I had to go home. Priya still stayed for a couple of days before leaving for her homeland. I had packed my things the day before and was planning to leave early in the morning. The night was terrible. Saying goodbye to Priya hurt me the most. We both knew this would happen, but we couldn't leave each other. The girls eventually dragged Priya back to her dorm. I don't think they realized that this was supposed to be the last time we would be together. In a way, I was glad they did it because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to let her go. Just before I left in the morning, there was a very soft knock on the door. I didn't know who it could be. I opened the door and there she was standing. Before I could say anything, she stood on her tiptoes and kissed me with the softest, lightest kiss I've ever felt. I was shocked. It was the most magical moment of my life. "I probably should have told you this sooner," she said, "but I love you too." And then she left. Over the summer, I didn't know what was going on. I spent time with friends at home. I visited and was visited by some of my friends, including Amy, whom my parents loved very much. Talking to Amy reminded me of all my problems. "You know she will be like a princess in her own country," she said. "She has a goal in life. She wants to modernize the country and improve conditions for the women there. She'll marry a damn prince. There's no chance she'll ruin it all for you. You'll be a chemical engineer with a salary of $60,000 a year. You're a great guy and you deserve a great girl, but you're not a fucking prince, you idiot." "Wow," I said. "It's good to have friends." "Why do you think I'm here?" she said. "I'm your friend. I don't want you to suffer." "Well, it's over already," I said. "We have the whole summer for her to forget me and go back to the life of a princess. When we go back, she won't even remember me. She'll go back to the life of a princess, and I'll go back to the life of a frog." "You're better off without her," she said sadly. "Maybe this year you will have a normal relationship." I love the sound of falling rain, but can we live like this forever? And although this night seems like it will never end, there's something in your eyes that makes me believe. The lyrics got worse. This time they didn't even rhyme. My life was going to hell. A certain prince. His damn cousin went crazy and tried to kidnap our president's daughter. Maybe I'll be lucky and the same thing will happen to him. He is also too old for Priya. The guy is at least 35. He is 12 years older than her. And the worst part of it all is that I dated this guy and he was a decent man. Hell, I couldn't even hate him. It always seemed that in all this I was a real deceiver. And I know, deep in my soul, that I'm wrong, but I can't help it. Priya is like air to me. I'm not sure I can live without her. So I'm sitting here crying into my beer and writing the worst damn song ever. I sit and think that life will go on, or that we will meet again at the end of the summer, as we did the last 2 times. But we won't meet. This time I will never see her again. Maybe Amy was right all along. But at the bottom of my soul, I know that if I had to start all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. For the first time, I'm glad that none of my friends and none of the guys in my group are around today. Because when I look out the window, watching the rain fall, somehow it seems that some of those raindrops have passed through the glass and landed right under my eyes. They slowly flow down my cheeks and end near the lump in my throat. Priya never told me whether I should transfer somewhere else. Before we left at the end of May, we were both too stressed to think about the details. It's been 3 months since we said goodbye and she kissed me. I could still feel the imprint of her lips on mine. If I closed my eyes, I could still feel her. But I was sure that she had spent enough time in the summer with her family and her prince that she probably wouldn't even remember my name. I decided to keep a low profile until I knew if she would come back. There was always a chance that she decided not to return, and even if we returned, the campus was big enough for both of us. For the first few days after returning and organizing my affairs, I barely left my apartment. I'm lucky. The owner of the building where I rented an apartment was an old friend of my father. Not only did he offer me a very reasonable price, but he also kept the apartment for me every year. I wasn't guaranteed the same one, and this year, though, I had the best one. It was on the top floor and had a small balcony and access to the roof. He also renovated the elevator over the summer, so it was fast, quiet, and clean. Once I received my class schedule, I barely left the house. My classes didn't start until a week later, so I didn't need to be there. Amy called me. She also arrived a week early. We met for coffee. "Hi, Eric," she said. looking me over. "You look terrible." "It's great to have friends," I said sarcastically. "You still haven't gotten over it, have you?" she asked directly. I shook my head. "Amy, you never understood this," I said. "It was never about me forgetting her. It will never happen. It was about making it easier for her to forget me. So we just stayed together until the end of the school year. I assumed that when she returned home to her traditions and family, to her handsome and rich prince, she would forget about me. And he will understand that what happened between us was only a minor flirtation. Hell, we didn't even have sex. We only really kissed once." "Did you kiss her?" Amy said in shock. "You kissed a woman who clearly belongs to another man." "Eric, it's almost like she's married. In some countries, like hers, she might be tortured or beaten for it. You shouldn't have." "Amy, she kissed me," I said quietly. "However, there is already water under the bridge. I haven't heard from her all summer. Not a call, not a note, not an email, not a message. Everything is over. I need to move on." "Great, we're going to the beach on Saturday," she said. "And Terry wants to go dancing on Sunday as a kind of blow off steam before classes start. You'll have to dance with her when you won't dance with me. She broke up with Ben this summer and is just starting to come to her senses." "Terry and Ben broke up?" I asked in shock. "How did it happen?" "That's the stupidest thing you've ever heard," she said. "One of the guys Ben knew in his hometown turned out to be gay. He created a fake Facebook page that supposedly belonged to some hot girl from out of state. He even used photos of some Victoria's Secret models. Basically, he convinced Ben that this hot girl was in love with him. Ben fell for it and left Terry." "Wait," I said, laughing. "Ben left Terry for a woman who didn't really exist." "Yes, but that's only half the story," she said. "Ben won't be coming back here this year to study. He will miss a year." "Why?" I asked. When Ben found out what was happening, he flew into a rage. Ben's a nice guy, but he's not gay at all. And you know how all those football guys are macho. He had a perfect relationship with Terry that he ruined for what turned out to be a guy. He found this guy and beat him to a pulp. He sent the guy to the hospital with several fractures. They say the guy will have to walk with a cane for the rest of his life. Ben also sued him on several charges, which, although not criminal, seriously impacted his life and career. The judge fully understood Ben's mental state, but Ben committed assault causing grievous bodily harm. He gave Ben the lightest punishment he could, but Ben will still spend a year in prison. And even if he is a model prisoner, he will not be released before 7 months. By then, football season will be over, and there will only be a few weeks left in the school year. Terry realized that Ben had been deceived, and she felt sorry for him. But in her mind, that didn't change the fact that he left her for another woman, even though the other woman did not exist. She said that any man she was with should love her exclusively, no matter how much more attractive other women might be. She said she wanted someone who would treat her the same way you treated. You know who. "Amy, can we say her name?" I said. "And Ben is just a fool. Terry is beautiful, caring and smart, and any guy would be happy to be with her." "Please don't tell me you're going to court Terry," she asked. "Of course not," I said. "Okay," she said. "I was starting to think that you just don't like white women." "Amy, you may be my best friend, but I don't think I'm ready to be with anyone, no matter the color of their skin. I just don't ever want to feel this way again, so I won't be dating this year. I think I'll never date again, so please don't try to get me a date with anyone." She leaned over and gently kissed my forehead. After Amy left, I sat in my new apartment playing my guitar. I didn't play very loudly, but I heard a knock on the door. I opened the door, and there was a guy standing there. "Did you just play the guitar?" he asked. "Yes, sorry," I said. "I'll make it quieter." "I have a better idea," he said. "Why don't you take your things and come with me?" 2 days later, I was in the group. We mostly played rock. We were somewhere between hard rock and lighter Def Leppard-style songs. We also had a few originals that I thought were bad. But being a newbie, I didn't want to cause any problems. It turned out that the guys in the band only played together during the school year, and one of their guitarists did not return that year. So I spent a couple of days studying their repertoire. Amy called me on Friday afternoon to ask if I wanted to do something and reminded me of the beach party. She wanted to invite herself to my first concert with the band, but I told her I wanted to do a few shows to get used to it before I embarrassed myself in front of my friends. She acted as if she wanted to tell me something, but she never did. On Saturday, I came to the beach and said hello to many of my friends. I saw Sarah and tried to hug her, but she immediately retreated. "Wow, I thought we were better friends," I said. "We're fine," she smiled. But, "Hi, Eric," Terry said, approaching us. "Hello, beautiful," I said. "I'm sorry to hear about you and Ben. He is a good guy. Stupid, but good." She smiled at me, and I remembered how beautiful she was. I reached out to hug her, and she stepped back too. "Is it because of my breathing?" I asked. They both shook their heads. Terry pointed to the table where the girls had set out all the food. Priya stood next to the table. A couple of guys tried to talk to her, as usual. "So you survived her?" Terry asked. "Does it matter?" I said. "Obviously, she outlived me, which is important." They both looked at each other and shook their heads. Terry had the wickedest smile I've ever seen. "Look," she said. "Hey, Pry," she shouted. Priya looked at us, and when our eyes met, she stood up so quickly that the guy who was leaning over her, trying to talk, fell. She rushed towards us and ran across the sand until she reached us. Terry and Sarah stepped back a little. When Priya came towards us and started screaming at the top of her voice, "Where have you been?" "You." I went. "And you." "Oh, God," she said. She grabbed my hand and pulled me further along the beach. She continued to pull my hand as if she was desperate. "Priya, do you need to tell me something?" I asked. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't want to get in your way with that guy there. Nobody told me you'd be here. I almost didn't come, but Amy told me about it. When we were far enough away from our friends, she pulled me behind one of the buildings where rescue supplies were stored. The next thing I knew, she was lunging at me. She wrapped her arms and legs around me and pressed her lips to mine. If a kiss at the beginning of summer was strong, this one was stunning. I ended up on my back on the sand with her on top, kissing me like there was no tomorrow. And this time it was not a gentle kiss. This time her lips parted and her tongue rushed into my mouth. When I tried to pull away, she simply grabbed the back of my head and pressed me even harder. She kept kissing me again and again. I don't think she stopped until we heard voices. "No, we shouldn't," said a voice that sounded like Terry's. "Come on, they don't do anything," Amy said. "You never know," Sarah said. Then they walked around the corner. "See, they're fully dressed," Amy grinned. We just wanted to make sure you were okay," Terry said. "Now I understand why no one wanted to hug you," said Sarah. "She cried for you when she came back and couldn't find you. I definitely didn't want to come between you when she saw you. See you later." "It didn't work," Priya said. "What didn't work?" I asked. "Your very logical plan to make me forget you," she said. "You were right. I spent the summer with friends and family. I did a lot, but I thought about you every day." "What about the prince?" I asked. "I saw him a couple of times over the summer," she said. "What about him? Didn't you and he spend many romantic moments together and—" I began. "For what?" she asked. "We are already engaged, and I will be his first wife. I will have a very important position. I will be able to improve a lot for women in my country, but he will probably have several wives. Why do we need romance when everything is already arranged? A lot has happened to me over the summer, and I realized the fatal flaw in your plan." "There was no flaw in my plan," I said. She looked at me with that sideways smile. "Okay, while E. Coyote, the super genius," she said, Then why haven't I forgotten you? And apparently, you haven't forgotten me either, have you? Of course I forgot, I said. She narrowed her eyes on me. Liar, she said. Be that as it may, I have a proposal that you should consider. What do you suggest? I asked. Your poor little plan failed because we weren't some typical sex and beer-fueled hookup. Eric, you are the first man I have ever loved, and this is a powerful feeling. At the same time, you love me so much that it scares me. You put me on such a high pedestal that I can barely see the ground below. I suggest that we really need more time to forget each other. We need to spend even more time together than last time so that we can see that each of us has flaws. And then we can forget each other, she said, squeezing my hand. I agree, I said enthusiastically. There are problems, she said. I don't care, I said. I'm ready to do anything to be with you. Eric, listen, she said. We will only have 2 years. If you remember last year when we were together, these last 6 weeks seemed like 6 hours. And this time it will hurt. Because if we were in this much pain after just 6 weeks together, what will happen to us after 2 years? I'll go through hell for an hour with you, I said. I just need to enjoy these 2 years and create enough memories for the rest of my life. Eric, there's one more thing, she said. The prince will visit me once or twice a year here. During his visits, you can meet him, or you can choose not to. But you cannot give him or anyone in his entourage any reason to think that we are more than friends. This means you can't be jealous or be around me or anything like that. I can handle this, I said. She looked at me and shook her head. It's probably better if you're not here. Every time you look at me, your face lights up. No, it doesn't light up, I insisted. We returned to our friends and sat down. Amy, Priya said, I know we're not the same friends we used to be, but what does Eric look like now? The boy glows like a light bulb, Amy said. Pri, we are still friends. I just don't want to see you both suffer. I want you to have the chance to make a difference for women in your country. I want to see you do it, and I don't want to see Eric suffer, but you clearly light each other up. Heard, Priya said. You're glowing. By this time, Sarah had walked over to the table and smiled at me. God, Eric, do you smile that much? This year, everything was completely different. From the very beginning, Priya and I were simply never apart. We even had some common activities. We didn't hide either. If we were around friends, everyone knew what was going on, so there was nothing to hide. It felt so good to be able to openly kiss the woman I loved. Priya also started visiting me at my apartment, and we went on dates together just as often as in the company of others. A few months later, I learned another important change in our relationship. This happened on Valentine's Day. I gifted Priya a beautiful heart-shaped gold necklace. It came with 3 gold chains. Her favorite was the 15-inch chain that she wore around her neck. There was another, even sexier chain that fit around her tiny waist, and a 6-inch chain that turned the necklace into a bracelet. She understood the meaning of the necklace and bracelet. The chain around your waist is so that when you return home, you can always keep my heart close to you. You can wear it under your clothes, where no one will ever see it, and always have it on hand. And very close to you, so that you always know that I love you, even when we are not together. Eric, don't be stupid, she said. You must understand that I am marrying a prince because it will be good for my country. It's like my duty. You and I will always be together in our hearts. You are the only man I have ever loved, and you will always be. It's time for you to understand this. Priya, I understand that, I said. Not as well as you are about to understand, she said. Let's go to your apartment. But Pri, that would be a little rude, wouldn't it? I asked. She just smiled at me. Let's go to your apartment, she said again. When we got there, we immediately fell on the sofa and started kissing. After a moment, our kisses became more heated, so I pulled back. She grabbed my head and pulled me back towards her. She rearranged herself so that she was on top. Although I enjoyed it, I realized that I might lose control. Priya straddled me and took off her shirt. I could see it having the same effect on her. Those big, perfect breasts were heaving. "Eric, do you like kissing me?" she asked. Her voice was filled with lust, and the look on her face was sexier than anything I had ever seen. She didn't give me a chance to respond. She just went back to our business. My brain was telling me we needed to stop, but my body was telling me to keep going. Priya was spinning on top of me, and I was on fire. Priya had no idea what she was doing to me. I pushed her away, and she snorted at me. "Stop it, Eric," and she stuck her tongue into me again. She unbuttoned her blouse, and I felt the silky skin of her back and sides. I began to gently stroke her skin, and she moaned. As I continued to rub her back, I was in heaven. "It's in the front," she said. "What?" I asked stupidly. "If you're trying to undo my bra, the clasp is in the front," she said. She straightened up for a second and then dropped her bra to the floor. It was like a lightning strike. I knew and saw hints that Priya. Incredible breasts, but seeing them for the first time was like seeing a Catholic pope for the first time. You suddenly understand why you pray, and you begin to understand much more about your beliefs. When she saw my reaction, she smiled. "Eric, you can touch them, you know," she said. "I really want you to do this." She unbuttoned my shirt and then began to pull down my pants. She also took off her skirt. She walked around the room, which gave me the opportunity to cool down a bit. My brain began to work again, even as she returned to me with the blanket. We have to stop," I said. "Eric, do you really want to stop?" she asked me. "Hell no," I said. "But I love you and—" "Even more reasons not to stop," she smiled. "I love you too." Before I knew it, we were under that blanket. We were already sweating, but nothing irreversible had happened yet. I moved from kissing to lightly biting her neck, and she yelped as I sucked on her earlobes. "Eric," she cheered, just as the phone rang. Her eyes immediately narrowed. She reached over and grabbed the phone. "What?" she snorted. "Yes," she said, rolling her eyes. "We left. And yes, we're fine. Eric wanted to show me something new in his car. I know you were worried, Sarah, and I love you for it, but I'm fine. Yes, I should have called or said something. Sarah, I'll probably be home late. Probably very late." When she hung up, she turned to me and then pulled the blanket closer to her. "Eric, you don't love me," she said slowly. I looked at her in shock, and she laughed. "Okay, maybe you love me," she laughed, "but you really need to learn how to take care of a woman." "I feed you," I said. "I even comb your hair after swimming." "Priya, we've gone too far," I said. "This is where I want to go," she said. "I want us to go too far." I looked at her with the same crazy look. "Priya, do you understand what we just did?" I asked. "We're in big trouble." "Why?" she asked. "Remember, you are not mine. You are engaged to the prince." I said, "We're in trouble." "Don't ever say something so damn stupid again," she said, sitting down. She settled down on the sofa and wrapped her arms around me again. "We need to talk, honey," she said. "Oh, so we're past the stages of darling and sweetheart?" I asked. She just laughed. "Eric, things are different now," she said. "A lot has happened over the summer that I have to tell you. But some things have remained the same. First of all, never, ever say something so stupid that I'm not yours. I've always been yours and always will be. I love you, Eric. I will marry Gustav, but I love you. Gustav will own my body, but my heart and soul will always belong to you. Secondly, I fell off a horse in the summer. I was examined by palace doctors. Gustav told his father that an examination was not necessary, but his father, who is not part of the royal family, insisted. Gustav's father married a cousin of the royal family, so Gustav is by blood in line for the throne, but his father has not and never will have a right to it. In any case, the palace doctor examined me, and found that my hymen was torn. He also determined that he was intact before the breakup and that I was a virgin, so on my wedding night I would pretend to be scared and that I didn't know what was going on. I would cry a little and pretend to be in pain for a few days afterwards. After this, I'll complain and lay there like a log every time Gustav tries to have sex with me. I'll do it so badly that he'll eventually give in. Then he'll just take a few more wives, or maybe a mistress or two. I was shocked. Why? I started. Because no matter how much I love you, it's not up to us, she said. If it were up to us, I would run away with you right now. But there are things I need to do to improve the situation of women in my country. But that's also because if I just ran away, it would be a terrible scandal, and my family would suffer. Eric, trust me. If the prince ever gets tired of my big mouth, or my constant demands for change and banishes me or sends me out of the country, I will find you. And if you are not married to Amy or someone, friend, we will be together. I nodded my head. Priya, I will never marry anyone else, I said. Don't be stupid, Eric, she said. Life must go on. Love must live. Love will survive. Somehow. I love you. So, most of all, I need you to be happy for both of us. And if you meet someone, don't hesitate. Go all in and name one of your daughters after me. It will let me know that you remember me and love this little girl the way you love me. But for now, Eric, we only have a couple of years to call our own. That's all we have, as far as we know. She winked at me and wrapped my arms around her. 2 years seems like a long time, but it will fly by in a flash, and I don't want to waste a second. I thought about what she said and the risks she was willing to take for me. I wanted to cry because no one I knew loved me like that. I leaned over and kissed her, noticing that she had fallen asleep, so I just lay there, holding the naked body of the man I loved most in my life in my arms. I knew then that she would always think that I lied to her, but there was simply no way that any other woman on the planet could replace her. Very early the next morning, she woke up to find me looking at her. Am I drooling? She asked. Do I snore very loudly? Yes, I said. But you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and I love waking up with you in my arms. We need to be there in a little over an hour, and one of us doesn't have fresh clothes. So the other one of us has to go shower while I get dressed, she said. Then he can give me a ride home and go buy me breakfast while I shower and change. That's exactly what we did. I also bought enough coffee and donuts for her roommates. Sarah and Terry looked at me as if they were assessing me for changes. Will this become a habit? Terry asked. She looks really happy, Sarah said. As long as she's happy, I don't care. He's happy too. I was talking about breakfast, Terry said. If he's going to bring us breakfast every time after that slumber party, he needs to find another place to buy breakfast. We need meat or ham or something with protein. All these sugary carbs and we'll all get fat. We need protein for breakfast. Things only continued to escalate until Priya ended up living in my apartment, which became the norm. The first year, the prince visited her twice. Both visits were difficult for me, since she could not accommodate the prince in her dormitory because it was a women-only building. She stayed in his inn with his retinue during visits. I went crazy every time. I was angry and moody from the moment she left me to be with him until the moment she came back to me, and every time it was worse. All her close friends met the prince and recognized him as a truly good man for the rich, handsome prince. I couldn't handle it. I literally hated him, and I just wasn't sure I could handle it around him. Part of it was that I loved Priya so much that I was incredibly jealous. I imagined that all this time she never loved me, that she and the prince would get together and have sex like rabbits, just laughing at me. I imagined them doing things that Priya and I had never even thought about. My thoughts were going crazy. The second reason was that deep down I was raised to be an honest and moral person, and no matter how you slice it, I am that other guy. Priya is in a relationship with him, and it lasts for almost 20 years. But every time he goes home, I have sex with her like there is no tomorrow. Priya and I, when we started, explored every aspect of sex that two people could. We've had to be more careful lately because our passion has often gotten away from us. Some of our closest friends knew what was going on between us, but did not talk about it. The problem was that we almost got caught by a few people who thought we were just friends without benefits, like we were last year. There was also the problem that Priya was incredibly jealous and could lose her temper at the drop of a hat. I often danced with friends like Terry and Sarah, and even Amy, but if anything got any closer than Priya liked, she would explode. The worst part was summer, but this time we didn't lose touch. We texted and emailed constantly. Of course, her phone recognized my phone as belonging to her friend Erica, not Eric. This was in case someone read her messages. We also had our own innocent code messages. I don't care meant just the opposite. It meant I love you. And other things like that meant something completely different to us than to anyone else who read them. There were a few surprises. I was at my grandmother's 80th birthday when I answered the phone without thinking. Priya and I did not call each other in case the calls were monitored. "Hi," I said, watching Grandma blow out the candles, or try to, after sucking in as much air as her fragile old lungs could hold. I automatically turned up the volume on my iPhone so I could hear what was going on at the party. Unfortunately, they all went quiet as Grandma was getting ready to blow out the candles, and I'm sure those closest to me heard Priya's thick accent. "Eric, I miss you and our sex so much," she said. I quickly left the room and turned down the volume. Priya called me from a payphone while her family was vacationing in a nearby town. Since the call was anonymous and she chose a payphone at random and at a time when no one was with her, she could freely express her opinion. We had a wonderful, albeit short, conversation, full of reassurances that we both missed each other and still loved each other. Of course, I ruined everything with my jealousy. I told her that I was sure that the prince would take care of her needs, and since he was older and much more experienced, I was sure that she did not need me. She laughed at me and explained that she and the prince had never even kissed. They never hugged, and, with the exception of formally holding hands at one or two ceremonies, they never made physical contact. I felt much better, but not so much that I wasn't incredibly embarrassed when I came back into the room and saw my grandmother and several family members looking at me. Our separation only seemed to make us more desperate when we met each other again. We both knew this was our last year together. To make matters worse, I learned that the prince would be serving as Pakistan's ambassador to the United States. The country had a queen who was educated here. She came to power when the last prince, her brother, killed his father and tried to kidnap the daughter of the U.S. president. She really didn't want to be queen, and most were sure that in a few years she would give way to her cousin. This meant that Priya's prince would become king and she would become queen. In the meantime, he had traveled extensively around the world and expected to visit Priya at least a few times this year. It seemed to me that every time I turned around he was under my feet. I saw him from afar several times, and as I said, I hated him. It was too smooth. He looked like Pierce Brosnan and was damn cute. He had staff that followed him everywhere, and like his cousin the Queen, he wanted to modernize things. Even some of his employees were British or American. He had an assistant who confused me. She was tall, blonde, and looked like a damn supermodel who followed him everywhere he went. Priya hated her too. I told her she was probably just jealous, and she laughed. "I'd be jealous if I really wanted Gustav," she said. "She might take him. I hate her because she always looks at me." "Maybe she prefers women," I complained. "Even other women want to seduce my woman." "You're right about one thing," she said. "I don't know if women want to seduce me, but I really am your woman." "But seriously, Eric, she's always trying to get me alone and talk like we're fucking friends or something. I get the feeling she's trying to catch me doing something so I don't have to, so she could report me to the prince. Like she's some kind of goddamn spy. I hate her. When I marry him, My wedding gift will be that he fires her ass. Priya and I were so happy this year that I wanted to cry. If I thought the previous year was incredible, this year was beyond me. We were everywhere together. She even came to my rehearsals with the group. I think we both knew our time together was dwindling and wanted to make the most of it. We knew that every action we took could be the last time we did it together. Some things meant more than others. For example, we went ice skating, and it was almost too emotional. Some of our friends understood that it was ice skating 2 years ago that brought us together. Priya just couldn't stop crying when it was time to leave. It took her several days to regain her emotional and physical stability after that. As the weeks passed and spring approached, desperation came to every action we took. It was different for me. I enjoyed everything we did, but I became angrier every time the prince suddenly appeared in town. And every time she came back, it took me longer to deal with it. It wasn't fair. Priya was mine. But deep down I knew that I was the one who was wrong. If a person buys a car and can't use it for a while, he can let someone else use it until he can. But the guy who bought the car is still the owner. Everything I did this year outside of school was for Priya or about Priya. Every song I wrote was about her. And I think that's why this weekend hurts so much. This is our last weekend together. Today was Priya's graduation. She looked so beautiful, and I never got to tell her about it. For some reason, the prince decided to come. He never came here for the last week of school, but it probably makes sense for him to be here to see his wife graduate. His wife. This statement alone irritates me. Priya spent last night and the night before with him. As far as I heard, their wedding should take place very soon. A week from tomorrow, as far as I understand, they will get married. I wonder if the future queen will wear the stupid heart I gave her to her wedding, or will she decide to give up baby things when she becomes a princess? Wiping my tears, I return to my song. I need a bridge and a chorus. I put together some of the things Priya told me for my chorus, and the song suddenly makes sense. Girl, don't you think our day of judgment is coming? Trouble seems to travel all the way. We only have a couple of years to call them our own. That's all we have as far as we know. I add a riff and a couple different chord progressions and create a song for the lyrics. I play it several times until it becomes natural. I'm recording this to play for the guys at rehearsal today. I received several calls early in the evening from friends who wanted to know why I missed Priya's graduation. I didn't know what to answer them. Sarah especially irritated me when she reminded me that many years from now, I would really wish I had seen her last. Amy called me to tell me that she had warned me. I told you, Eric, she said. I told you from the beginning that you would end up broken and miserable. Okay, you were right, Amy, bye, I said. Terry called later to say how sorry she was that things didn't work out so well for me. She also said that she would see me at my talk tomorrow. The rehearsal went the same as usual. I played a new song for the guys, and we played the music a couple of times. Mark, our singer, thought I should sing it. I immediately refused. He claimed that the emotion I put into it would make the song incredible. After this, the rehearsal proceeded as usual. We spent about an hour and a half playing music and 2 hours drinking beer. Most of the time after rehearsal ended, Priya and I spent time with the guys or went out to eat. My heart just wasn't in it tonight, and I packed up my guitar and left as soon as we finished. I drove the Mustang back to my apartment and nothing felt real. Even my usually loud exhaust system sounded muffled. It was a clear sign that even my car was missing Priya. Once in the apartment, I just collapsed on the sofa. I didn't go to bed because there were fresh sheets. The sofa still smelled like Priya, and I lay there inhaling her scent. I wrapped myself in a blanket and poured out all my emotions in the darkness. I don't think I've ever been so devastated in my life. I felt like I had no reason left to do anything. I replayed every memory of our time together in my head. I spent 3 days like this. I only ate when I was really hungry, and then it was chips and beer. There were empty bags and cans lying around the sofa. On Thursday, I went for a long walk in the car. While I was out, I bought more chips and beer. Mark caught me at the entrance. "Boy, where have you been?" he asked. "I've come at least 10 times. We should all get together. Mend. The father of the band we performed with wants to take us under his wing. He thinks he can get us a record deal. Isn't that great?" "Yes, go for it," I said. "What do you mean, go for it?" he asked. "Are you making a deal with someone else? Are you going to go solo? You know, every time a lead guitarist goes solo, he flops. Just think about it. Remember the Joe Perry project? He let the music do the talking, but she didn't have anything to say. Remember Fraley's Comet? It burned up and no one even knew about it. Remember Vinnie Vincent's Invasion? Of course not. Mark, I'm not going to start a solo career. I wish you luck, I said. But what about the songs? He complained. You wrote most of our original tracks. Mark, you have notes, I said. Find another guitarist to play my parts. I'm not that good. But the songs, he said again. Mark, to hell with the songs, I said. They're all yours. I don't care. I just want to be left alone. He smiled and disappeared. An hour after I returned to the apartment, someone knocked on my door. I didn't go see who it was. I spent Friday and Saturday in a state of beer depression. I turned on the TV and turned up the volume. I hoped it would drown out what I was about to do. My luck continued. When the TV turned on, it was a news station that was talking about the royal wedding in Pakistan that was going to take place later that day. I turned off all the appliances and lights and sat on the sofa with the photos next to me. I looked at her beautiful face one last time and raised the gun to my temple. Someone was fiddling with the doorknob. I thought it was probably the landlord. Someone has probably already complained about the TV volume. Okay, I thought, let him clean me up after I leave, and let him do it until I start to stink. I looked at Priya's photo one last time, put the gun back to my temple, and pulled the trigger. Time seemed to slow down. The moment I pulled the trigger, the door opened, and I saw not my father's fat friend who owned the building, but Priya walking inside. I tried to stop, but the bullet had already flown out, and everything was plunged into darkness. While I was losing consciousness, I heard her sobbing. "Amy, call an ambulance," I heard her scream. "Terry, get some towels from the bathroom. We need to stop the bleeding." My next thought confused me. I wondered why I even had thoughts. I shot myself in the head. I tried to touch my head, but I couldn't. "Your arms are strapped, idiot," she said. "Priya, I can't see. Am I blind?" I asked. "No, fool, you were blindfolded 2 days ago," she said. She walked over and lifted the blindfold, and when she did, my eyes were filled with such brightness that it hurt. Priya looked beautiful to an ordinary woman, but terrible to herself, and she was clearly furious. She turned away from me to press the nurse call button. The nurse came in and examined me. "I told you he would wake up today or tomorrow," she winked at Priya. "Can you let go of my hands?" I asked. "Hell no," she snorted. "You are under observation due to suicide risk." "What the hell is going on in your brain?" Priya screamed as soon as the nurse came out. The fire in her eyes was terrible. The door opened and my mother looked inside. I think she heard the beginning of Priya's tirade. "I'll be back when you're done," my mother said. I just couldn't cope," I said. "I swear I tried." She took my hand and squeezed it. "When I saw you coming in, I tried to stop and managed to move the gun, but it was too late to stop," I said. "The bullet grazed the side of your head," she said. "They had to put it on a small plate, but your brain wasn't damaged. It's not like you have much brain damage." "Why are you here?" I asked. "See what I'm talking about when I mention brains," she joked. "I'm here because we belong to each other, fool." "You know what I mean. What about the prince and the wedding and women's rights in your country?" I asked. "The prince got married," she smiled. "The wedding was incredible. I was invited, but according to the news, I was too devastated and depressed because of the rejection. So I left Pakistan. Women's rights in my country are in good hands. She smiled so widely that it seemed like she was about to burst. You need to explain all this, I said. Gustav is the sweetest guy, she said, but he doesn't love me, and he knows I don't love him. Almost immediately after we got on the plane, he, Alicia, and I talked. Who is Alicia? I asked. That beautiful blonde you were so rude to, she said. Anyway, the prince has been in love with Alicia for about 5 years. They were dating before we met. That's why Alicia tried to talk to me and why she kept looking at me. She wanted to find some reason why I couldn't marry a prince. But they never found out about our connection. He never followed me or investigated me because he didn't care. Eventually, however, Gustav pulled himself together and put an end to arranged marriages in Pakistan. His cousin, the sister, the queen, agreed, so it became law. Then Gustav announced that Alicia would be his first wife, and I would be the second. I had to publicly object, which I did, and then refused to marry Gustav under his new law. I made the excuse that since we were engaged, I was supposed to be the first wife. I was so upset by the rejection that I left the country, but it really worked for Gustav to marry me and just keep Alicia as a mistress. But he did it so that I could be free without shame for my family. That's wonderful, I said, smiling. She smiled back. Now I have to figure out what to do with my life, she said. I need a plan B. Why? I asked. Well, plan A was for you and me to get jobs, get married, and start having kids, she said. But now it's obvious that won't work. Why not? I asked. I like plan A. I don't want a bunch of stupid kids, she said. I want smart children. And for our children to be smart, they must have a smart father. And what you just did proves that you are not very smart. But I'm only stupid to you, I complained. I'll think about it, she chuckled. Then she leaned over and kissed me. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one. 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 Listening to the next